Hello, everyone, and welcome into another edition of Just Another Year Chicago. Today is a Bulls edition. Uh, Obviously, I'm hosting today because Nick is busy with all of his Bears stuff, really grinding hard to give you guys the best content he can. So today I'm joined by a very special guest, basketball guru, NBA analyst, Chicago Bulls specialist, Nick
The
Barr.
Bulls.
Yep. So we are obviously talking about the Bulls, specifically Summer League, kind of how they performed, Laurie Markkinen news, along with a couple other stories just from around the league. It's really kind of slow right now for anything basketball wise in general. So just kind of give you guys a little news and talk about kind of how the young guys actually performed really well, and that makes us super excited. But first, we're going to talk, or we'd like to thank our sponsor, Stupid Car Tray.
Tired of your pizza topping sliding, office coffee distracting you while driving, grease and other stains getting on your seat, or you're just enjoying a game on the couch and don't want to lean over? Look no further than the Stupid Car Tray. Proudly USA made, Stupid Car Tray makes your passenger seat or couch a level surface for all transportation and couch potato needs. With accessories like the Stupid Seat Anchor, hand sanitizer bottle, or 100% silicone grip mat, your tray is the ultimate car organizer. With over 20 different color combinations, there's a Stupid Car Tray for everyone. Visit www.stupidcartray.com and use discount code J16 to get 16% off your entire order. Link in the description.
It's stupidly obvious. I don't know why anyone didn't think of it before, but let's jump into it. So the Summer League, let's do it. Yeah. So the Summer League is concluded for the Chicago Bulls, and the baby Bulls are looking awesome. Patrick Williams, he only played one game since our last podcast. You can go check that out if you want to see our recap of those. But since then, they played the Timberwolves. He had 18 points on 6 of 15 shooting, which is kind of what he's been doing so far throughout the Summer League. It was 2 for 4 from 3, so he continues to improve from 3-point land, which is good to see. 4 for 6 from free throws, had 10 boards, 3 assists, but he did have 6 turnovers, which isn't great. Something a little sloppy, got to clean it up. Nick, you got any comments on that?
Yes, I guess, coming from like a college, probably like a college basketball super fan, turnovers, you can't get mad at them. It's part of the game, part of what makes it exciting. But once we're talking NBA, and we're talking about a guy who is playing with a chip on his shoulder, that's going to be the spin zone for me, that the reason why he had a couple more turnovers than normal is he's being super aggressive. He's going off the dribble. He's doing these things that he's not going to probably be able to do during the year. But all that I care about as a Bulls fan right now is just that he's aggressive because he's already had the skill set, the size, all that. Like, I just want to see that he can score on his own, and we've seen that. And that, even if he can go off the dribble, I mean, that's just another aspect to his game. So yes, I saw the 6 turnovers, jumped out to me for sure. I wasn't ecstatic about it, but I just know that it's because of his over aggression, and that I'll take. I'm like one of those old high school coaches, like, as long as you're playing hard, like, that's all that matters. And in this case, that does apply, just because we know he has the skills. We just need to see him be aggressive like that. So I'm fine with it. I'm fine with the TOs.
That's a great point, especially in Summer League, when the point that these games do not matter at all. I didn't even include the scores in any of these games because that's how little it matters. So that's a great point where I'd rather have him, take, drive to the basket 10 times, turn it over 3, as long as the 7 are good quality chances. Another guy taking good quality chances here, Marko Simonovic. I think I nailed that, or I didn't.
You nailed it.
He played all 3 games since our last episode. So he's been over in the States now for 5 games. He had a very tough third game, I will say. He only had 10 points, 1 of 8 shooting. All of his points really came off free throws, which he was 8 for 8 in, which is a great sign. I know that's something. That was why we got something they said when they signed DeMar DeRozan. You got to get to the line more. That's a guy that gets to the line more. So I'm happy to see that he can knock down the free throws. He's not going to be like LeBron or Paul George going 50% from the free throw line. He had 2 rebounds, 2 assists. So it was an okay game. It wasn't much, but his 4th and 5th game where he got back on track. Talked about it last episode as well, how he shoots well, he shoots consistently. He's scoring about 15 points a game. So in the 4th game, he had 14 points, 7 of 13 shooting, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals. He was plus 12. They won that game. Not even very handily. It was kind of a close game. So that's big. That means he was contributing, obviously, when he was on the court. They weren't worse when he was on the court, which is huge for when you're just in the game, especially as a younger guy. You don't want to hurt the team. In the 5th game, he had 10 points, 4 for 7 shooting, 4 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block. There's plus 27. They did blow out the Hornets. They won by about 27. So you could basically say he won them that game. I think that's how that works out. Overall,
we can say that.
Yeah. So overall, I believe it was through those 3 games, he played about 20-ish minutes. He had 11.3 points per game, 4 rebounds, 2.7 assists. And he was about plus 13 each game. Obviously, I didn't even include game 3's plus minus was minus a million, but so was everyone. But I did include it in the stat there. So clearly he's doing well enough to make up for it. And just in general, to point out how well everyone did in game 5, all 5 starters were plus 20 or higher on the plus minus. So really can't necessarily use that as a metric in that game, especially in summer league. However, it is awesome to see this young, I think he's still young, this guy coming over, no NBA experience. And it was Patrick Williams and it was him. And then obviously it's this other guy as well who, Nick, if you'd like to say who stood out to you during the summer league.
Yeah. Well, I mean, folks, the hometown kid, Ayo, the one that you'd love watching glide down the court. And of course, the worry is always, when you're going from college to NBA, you're like, well, is that going to transition? He's a tall guy. I mean, he's not thick, but I think the most I guess I would say the biggest upside for me was just seeing that he can still finish around the rim like he was in college. Seeing and also again with the aggression, because you got to keep in mind, like, these are guys that, I mean, they're 18, 19, Simonovic or whatever. He probably doesn't even know where the nearest McDonald's is. He just got to America. Like, I mean, I just like to see that these guys are being aggressive, and it seems like they want to be a part of this, like, this rising Bulls team. And even though it is summer league, they seem to be playing with some sort of chip or aggression that you're not seeing from many other teams. And like Ayo would be the leader of that. I mean, obviously last 2 games you saw him score, he scored 19, he put up 26. Like, these are numbers that, not only earn you a spot, on the roster, which it did, but he signed a 2-year deal, which is great. But also, I mean, this shows me that he can actually potentially be a viable backup to Lonzo. And I'm just pleasantly surprised. Watching him on pick and roll is chef's kiss. I mean, and I just hope that translates over if he can still finish around the rim against these bigger guys. Clearly, he wasn't finishing around the rim with some of the shot blockers he's going to face, but showing that he has that confidence and has the ability to create his own shot is going to be huge, because the only thing I'm really looking to see is for him to develop some sort of pull-up jumper off the pick and roll, because he can get to the rack. But now what if you throw in, JaVale McGee? Is he getting to the rack? I don't know. Like, he needs to be able to pull up jump shot, something that, even Lonzo doesn't really have that much. So I'm very high on Ayo right now. I can really see how he can bring value to this team right away. And, I don't want to admit it, but I didn't know if that was going to be the case right away. But he's truly playing like one of the better point guards to come out of the draft. So that's been my favorite thing to see by far.
I agree. And his defense has also been pretty good. He has at least 1 steal a game. I know in the last episode, I think he had 2 in each of the first 2 games. And again, preface this, it's all summer league. However, the guys they're playing against are at the same level as them. You got to beat the lower tier guys to beat the higher tier guys. If you can't beat the lower tier guys, so I know there's a couple guys that struggled. We won't go into it too much, but it's just great to see the progress, because he had a tough first game. But yeah, like you said, he's basically averaging 20 points over the last 2 games. Just absolutely crazy. He had 7 rebounds too. He's had a sneaky amount of rebounds, kind of a Russell Westbrook-esque rebounding stat line. So we'll see how that helps. And of course, the story everyone's talking about, Troy Baxter Jr. had the dunk of the summer, not summer league, summer. At any park you go to, this was better, probably. An alley-oop from Simi Shitu is probably how that's pronounced. And it was just an absolute, like, he caught it coming up and just windmill dunked it in on a fast break. It was great to see. Great. I think, Nick, you mentioned it before. It's going to be like Alonzo to Zach LaVine during the season. We'll see that, all the alley-oops and the assists from.
I mean, yeah. And that speed, like those are two guys that already glide down the court, and then when you put them together, I mean, I would imagine it's going to be like a teleporting situation where they're just going to pop up on the other side, and if Ayo can add to that, I mean, that'd be phenomenal. And right now, he's showing that he has the confidence to do so. We just got to see the execution.
Absolutely. So that's kind of the summer league wrap up. We'll go into Laurie marketing rumors real quick. There's really not much right now. Everything's kind of fizzling out. Nick will actually touch on why we think almost for sure why that's the case. But right now, the only story since our last conversation was that a source came out and said that there's a 30 to 40% chance he goes to the Mavericks, which is, in my opinion, such a neutral prediction. They just found the perfect zone to get all the credit if he goes there, and none of the backlash if he doesn't.
Losses.
It's like if I just okay, there's a 30 to 40% chance that Zach LaVine wins the MVP. If he does it, I basically called it. If he doesn't, no one's gonna be like, oh, well, you said 30% chance. Yeah. So that's just classic. Nothing to talk about right now. Nothing's happening. Right. Which now we can get into that. Like I said, Nick, you brought up pre-show about why you think why nothing's happened really.
Well, I think whoever wrote that title, I think had this in mind that, really nothing's going on. I mean, effectively nothing's going on other than I'm sure I'm sure the Bulls know more about what's going to happen than we do, but it's just that they can't negotiate right now, just given the whole tampering situation from Lonzo. I mean, he's clear, it's cleared. He's on our team, like that part's fine, but I think there's still a little delay here. So that's why we're not seeing anything. I wouldn't say that, so I don't think people should take it seriously that, we haven't heard anything. I don't think you should take that with a grain of salt. That's just more of a administrative thing, I think, at this point. I don't think it has anything to do with whether we're, more or less in on getting rid of him. I don't know which way it's going to go, but I think as Bulls fans, I think we can be satisfied either way. I know that's a tough thing to tell a sports fan, but I really do think I really don't think that's going to be the difference maker here anymore. But with that being said, I think, Laurie clearly has a lot of upside, but we've put up with the inconsistency for so long. It's like, as a business, what do you expect the Bulls to do, right? And Kleba, who they're eyeing on the Mavericks, yeah, he doesn't have that big upside. He's already 30. I think we kind of know what he brings to the table. Laurie, not so much. I mean, we know he can explode potentially, but I'd be comfortable with the safe Maximilian from the Mavs, just because at this point I think we have our playmakers. We just need a guy that's going to be consistent. I would love a 3-point shooter. That's the only thing about this Bulls team is that I'm a little worried in this day and age that we don't have a huge 3-point guy. But before getting ahead of my skis here, I think we should all just take a deep breath with Laurie. I think something is going to happen soon, but again, I think there's just going to be some administrative lag time here with anything. So everyone just calm down on Big Laurie.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. We'll see. I want him out of here at this point. You're so right. It's just there's too much going on. He wants too much money for the lack of consistency. We've already effectively replaced him. So
that's the big thing. Is just that he was asking for so much. So I mean, I don't blame the Bulls at all. I think we're ready to move on.
Yeah. So speaking of moving on, let's move on to our last topic, which is Nick is going to give us a quick little review, his thoughts on the awesome 30 for 30 that I still haven't watched, but I know the story. We all kind of know the story. Maybe our younger listeners don't, but it's called Untold, Malice at the Palace. So it's about Malice and the Palace. Is that the name of it?
No.
Okay. So Malice at the Palace. Everyone knows the fight out at the Palace in Detroit with Ron Artest and fans and kind of Nick, if you just want to take it away here. I didn't watch it. You did.
I get, it's one of those things where, I was around for, I would consider myself a sports fan at that time in my life. It's still pretty young though. So I don't think I think going back through this documentary was like, oh, I didn't realize the other factors at play, right? I mean, I knew the only thing I really knew going into this documentary was that, the Pistons were reigning champs. There was like this kind of like, oh, we played them in the playoffs last year, but that happens all the time. But that, to my knowledge, that was the only turmoil really. But then there was just some more underlying things, like Ben Wallace had just, his brother had just passed away. I had no idea about that. and he's already a savage as it is. So I think he was playing with a chip on his shoulder. You have Ron Artest, who's just, I mean, he's always ready to go. And, you know, like it was just interesting hearing like the other elements at play. But I think that, I mean, the biggest thing, man, you know, and everyone should go watch it. You know, Netflix, it's on Netflix. Shout out, you know, Netflix, you're welcome for the free ad. It's actually not a 30 for 30, which was surprising. It's like the series called Untold, I think is like the series, and then it's Untold, Malice of the Palace. And you know, so in this situation, yeah, actually not a 30 for 30, but let me tell you what, they lived up to the dramatization of everything at the beginning. Like I watched it with my girlfriend, and she legitimately, because she didn't know anything about this, so she legitimately turned to me, you know, after the intro was done, because I mean, it's so dramatic. And she goes, "Wait, did anyone die in this?" And I was like, "No, no one died." But I understood why she asked the question. So, you know, you got the over dramatic, you know, music. You got Ron Artest. You got Steven Jackson. People forget Steven Jackson. I mean, he is another level of entertainer. Like I was gonna give Ron Artest all the credit here. I mean, a few things he said. He had talked about. So I think everyone that's familiar with the situation knows that the real, I guess, catalyst after the players were fighting. I mean, there's always player scuffles, right? And like the thing that made this different was that the fans got involved, and you never really think that's going to happen, but they're sitting right there. I mean, it's really not that surprising to me when you think about it. I'm almost surprised it hasn't happened more. But again, they made a huge deal out of it, right? Because it was the first time. And again, this was a while ago, but I don't think anything's happened even close to that since then. So it was quite an anomaly, but the best part, in my opinion, by far, was when, you know, the scuffle's going on, right? The benches are cleared, and Ron Artest lies down on the scorer's table. Now, this is, he's playing an away game, right? He's sitting in the faces of, you know, the fans in the front row and also Detroit's own commentators. He says he was practicing a tactic he learned in therapy to take 5. He was taking 5 deep breaths. He meant no disrespect. I mean, this guy's he has a story for everything, got an excuse for everything. I think he is a little bit misunderstood. I do. I don't think you have very eclectic like minds all the time in the NBA. I mean, they're very, very focused on one thing, as they should be. But it was just so funny trying to see the media and the NBA like swallow the pill that is Ron Artest. Like now, I think we're a lot more equipped to do so. We love to make the players bigger than they are. But back then, it was like they're just players, like they just dribble, and then, you know, they can't say anything. But like Ron Artest was clearly the opposite. So I would almost recommend this, not just for the fact that it was like a once in a lifetime sporting event, but just to watch it alone for Ron Artest and Steven Jackson, and how much you would want them on your team. I mean, you tell me after that documentary that you wouldn't want both of them on your team, despite them being pretty decent basketball players. Just the fact that they were just ride or die for each other. You know, Steven Jackson's taking his shirt off. He's like, "We ride together, fam. We ride together." Ron Artest, like, just like the classic. And you know he meant this too. He legit looked at Steven Jackson after the brawl, biggest brawl in sports history with fans, and he goes, "Do you think we're gonna get like in trouble for this?" He genuinely asked him that. I mean, it was phenomenal, man. It great length. It was like an hour, 5 minutes. You know, I think they did exactly what they should. Like I said, they over dramatize a little bit, but it was like concise. It was to the point. They started talking about bigger themes like the media and calling the NBA players thugs and all this. There's a couple tiers to it, but I would watch it just for Ron Artest and Steven Jackson's performance alone.
Well, there we
Highly
go.
recommend.
Yep, I'm gonna have to watch it. I'll watch it tonight. Well, with that, thank you for that awesome recap, Nick, and thank you for coming on for potentially only your first time on, where there might be more. Definitely not the last. So appreciate it again. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Follow us everywhere on, you know, Instagram, and it'll all be around here somewhere. Nick will edit it in for us. The other Nick, not this Nick. So thanks again for tuning in. Go Chicago Bulls. And this was another episode of Just Another Year Chicago. Have a good night.